afternoon or good evening. I want to thank everybody who has taken the time out to tune in to tonight's live, the segment on healthy love, which the focus is going to be on self-care. I went ahead and decided, hey DJ, I went ahead and decided to start it on February 7th because this was supposed to be my actual due date. So it's definitely my prayer that whatever I say tonight, it hits home for some lady, some gentleman, somewhere. Thank you, DJ Fisher, my husband, for watching. So I really hope that I say something that encourages you to consistently walk with Christ, consistently keep yourself until his best comes your way. So just before I start, I want to go ahead and just tell you a little bit about the content, what this installment we're going to be discussing, and all of those things, so you know on the front end. I learned from my first live that I'm not going to be able to shout out every single person, but I will do my best, and that's only because I don't want to get off track, and I want to make sure that I give everybody the content first. I will open it up at the end of the video just to give me time to scroll through some of your questions, but then also just to look at that dialogue and answer on camera anything that anybody has a question about, or a comment that was made or a valid point that I think should be shared with everybody. So tonight we're gonna discuss who you are. And I did put on there your responsibility to your family or your environment. However, with some of the content that I have been working on, I may not make it to that point tonight, just because I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Anybody that got a show that they want to start watching at 8 o'clock, I want to make sure I give you the opportunity to do that. Okay, so a little bit about me. My name is Kndyia Fisher. Prior to that, my name was Kndyia Mingo, and I have had been through a very long relationship, and then also some on-off relationships along the way. And I got to a point where I looked at my surroundings and I sat back and had to ask myself the serious question. One, am I being an example to my children? Would I want them to repeat? Would I want my children to repeat the cycle that I'm setting for them? Two, I had to ask if I was being the representative of Christ, the Christ I say I serve, the Christ I say I believe in. And my mom used to check me about that a whole lot, and I appreciate it because it began to frustrate me, so much so that I decided that I was just going to do things differently, completely different. I was tired of praying about it, crying about it, rolling on the floor about it, intimate time with God about it. I knew that things in my personal walk with him had to change. So with that being said, if you're tired of approaching relationship the same way, if you're tired of losing confidence in certain areas, or when it get to certain points in your relationship, then I encourage you to continue watching. I encourage you to start a watch party. I just learned that that's something new. So I just want to pull you out of your normal way of thinking and put you into more so of a kingdom way of thinking, and challenge you to live the life you say you believe. Does that make sense? I want to challenge you to live the life that you say you believe. We can't be believers. We can't say we're walking with Christ and we're not doing what we're told. So most of this is going to be my experience, just hoping that it helps somebody along the way. This is not a 10 steps to get a man. I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. This is, what did God tell you to do? Acknowledge him in your life, acknowledge his voice in your life, and begin to exercise that, so that whatever his promise is for you, you are able to achieve that and obtain that. Okay. So with that being said, I'm not an expert. I just know my personal walk, and God placed it on me a long time ago to share my story, and I was very hesitant to do so. Um, and now I'm still a little hesitant to do so, but His will, not my will. Okay. Um, so I do also want to let you know that the live broadcast will be set up more so that when I jump on, I want to be jumping straight into content. I'm doing all of this now just for people who are going to be watching on a weekly basis. This is just so you all know how it's going to roll. But for the most part, I won't be sitting on here waiting for viewers. I'm going to get straight in and get straight off, okay? So what happens when you don't know who's and who you are? Okay? Only my experience, nobody else's. Several things happen when you don't know who you belong to and when you don't know who you are. When these two things are not clear, it causes discord, not just in your family, but it causes discord in your relationships. It causes discord in your spirit. It attracts the wrong people. Okay, it attracts the wrong type of relationship. Your confidence begins to go up and down, because one minute it's like, oh, I got this, I got this, I got this. The next minute it's like, Lord, I really need your help. And although He's there to help us, a lot of the areas that we run, we're consistently running back and forth to Him for help, are areas where He's given us authority and the power to overcome it. So there should be a time where an area we struggled in, we're no longer struggling as much, or we're no longer struggling at all in the area, because He's given us victory. And that's what I mean by I got to a point where I was tired of claiming, oh, I have victory, oh, I believe in His promises for me, yet I was not walking out my promise. Yet I was not following the direction to get me to my promise. Or I was following the direction sometimes, but not most times, or not all the time. All of those things play a factor. And when you don't know who you belong to, and when you don't know who you are, you're easily taken off of that square. Okay? So then also your attitude gets shifty, because you get so things begin to get so conflicting on the inside of you that you begin to get really you begin to get really sporadic. You get to really acting foolish in a way that you know that the promise is set ahead for you, but your attitude is so jacked up, you start to try to go ahead of God. You start to think that you know a little bit better than He does. Or you go ahead and you say, okay, God, I give it up to you. I give it up to you. And then as soon as it starts to look like your promise is near, you just try to take over the whole situation, the entire situation. And it's not healthy. And that's why I wanted to come on here and speak about healthy love, because I had too many friends, family members, and things like that around me that I saw getting discouraged in relationship, discouraged in marriage, discouraged in faithfulness, just everything, that I said, okay, God, at 14, I said I wanted to be an example to my peers. Don't know what situation you're going to use for it. Don't know how I'm going to get there, but that's what He began to cultivate inside of me. The next thing, when you don't know who and whose you are, you begin to have, an influx of issues, okay? You begin to tolerate ignorance. You begin to tolerate foolishness from people you never would have, listen to me. You never would have accepted half of the things that you had accepted if you knew who you were. And I'm not talking about oh yeah, I'm this, I'm that. No, ma'am. I'm talking about no God can step to you and say, let's go do this or let's go do that or let me get your number. Any of that, because you know so much who you are. You're not even letting certain people taint your environment. And that's the process that I began to start to go through, to the point where I stopped going out with everybody, male and female, because I was committed to having a certain fragrance on me. And I was committed to, when I walked into a place, that people saw the light shining in me, so much so that they say, I know you trying to live right. Okay? But I couldn't do it because I was attaching so many wrong spirits to me. I was attaching and attracting so many wrong people. So that's what I want to talk through, just to give you my personal experience so that you're able to reevaluate what you're in right now. Because it's important. Why go another year and say, oh, I'm going to make some changes, I'm going to do things differently, and then you end up in 2020 back in the same situation that you're in? It's insane. It makes no sense, right? So then the benefits of knowing who's and who you are, you're more confident. You're not as thirsty. Someone come to you and they want to holler at you. They want to take you to lunch. They want to take you to dinner. You cut it all off. I'm good. During my season of separation, I started to learn the characteristics of Christ. Sorry, y'all. Our food is here.
Yeah.
But I started to learn the characteristics of Christ. And I dug into my word. And I asked myself the question. I asked God to show me, who are you? What are your characteristics? What are you like? Right? So just think about this. You have a mother. And you're more than welcome to comment in these, to leave a message in these comments. But think about this. You have a mother and you have a father. Okay? Both of those two people make up who you are, right? Right. So I know or knew the characteristics that I had of my mother, okay? I had somewhat of an understanding of the characteristics that I had of my father, all right? However, I didn't know all of the attributes that were of me that resemble Christ. Does that make sense? So what does he look like? What does he sound like? Right? How would God respond? How would Jesus respond to, excuse me, y'all. Hold on. How would Jesus, the pizza man was supposed to come to the back, y'all, so excuse us. How would Jesus respond in this situation? If a guy approached me, how did God want me to respond to his advances? What did that look like? What did that sound like? Okay? So it also began to increase my faith. And in increasing my faith, I was able to take my time and understand what God has for me. Not what someone else think I should have, not the process other people think I should go through, but what does God have for me, okay? And then it started to help me be more selective, okay? I remember, they have him, I remember being at the gas station, and this guy tried to talk to me. I had just came from church. This was a few years ago. This guy had just came from church. Well, I had just came from church and I was at the gas station. So I'm pumping my gas and this guy looks at me and was like, hey, yo, what's up? First of all, sir, that is not how you speak to a woman at all. Second, he didn't even look like anything I would even be attracted to. Not that he wasn't attractive. He just was not my type. So in that moment, as I was pumping my gas, I literally prayed, Lord, whatever it is that is on me that makes him think, or men like him think they have a chance, strip it, take it off. I don't care how bad it hurt. I don't even want certain people to think they have the opportunity. Because if everybody think they have the opportunity, I ain't walking right. Some people should look at you and feel like, oh, she out my league. Not even that you are. I'm just saying that they may feel like it. Hey, Whitney. So that was my story. I was upset. I was like, oh no. Not if I'm really trying to, you done show me what you have for me. I can't let nothing jeopardize that. Period. So here's what I challenge everybody to do. Okay. Because I have a lot of people that I personally know on here. Some people that I don't know that well. And it's going to be imperative to what you say you're trying to do. Okay? That you get real honest with yourself. I'm not talking about the person that you show everybody you are. Okay? And I can only say this because I went through it. I'm not talking about the person that when you're out and about, that person that people see, oh, she's so charismatic. Oh, she's so outgoing. I'm not talking about that person. I'm talking about the person that God sees you are. When you get home and you look in the mirror, right? Or you're at home and you're studying your word, or you're at home and you get lonely. That's the self that I challenge you to challenge. That's the self you want to start off by saying, okay, God, look, straight up, this is how I am. I'm rude, I'm nasty, I'm bitter, my feelings hurt, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm a liar, I done cheated. Whatever your story is, I encourage you to bear it all to God, because you're not going to be able to step into your next relationship until those things are clear, until those things are clean. And these self-care is so important, because what's going to happen when you do get your promise? Let's just say your promise is marriage, right? What happens when you do get married and you haven't dealt with your daddy issues? I had them. Had no idea I had them. And I had them. And it was tearing me, ripping me at the core. I had no idea I had so many unresolved issues with my father, with my mother, with my grandmother, who I never even met. But I had so many unanswered questions, so many unresolved issues. And I see now in retrospect that those unresolved issues had a lot to do with the way that I was choosing people and the way I was going about doing relationship. And that matters. So all of those things, I literally was doing a praise dance in my house one day. I'll never forget it. To Alabaster Box by CeCe Winans. And in the middle of it, and I'm trying not to get emotional, in the middle, which that's one of my favorite songs, in the middle of that song, I literally fell out in my living room. I done fell out before, but I literally fell out in my living room, and I stayed there, and I cried out, Lord, I'm this. I done tore up this past relationship doing this. I done let this person hurt me this bad to the point where I done went off and did this. You have to let God strip you all the way down. Because looking at it, looking forward, which is, we don't do that a lot of times, but looking forward, your husband or your wife don't need to be dealing with issues of your past. They don't need to be dealing with that. Let God strip you. Let him make you new. Let him wash you. Let him cleanse you. But he can't do it if you lying to yourself. Don't tell me, or don't tell your friend, or don't tell your prayer partners and your prayer warriors, or whoever, your co-workers. Don't tell them the lie you tell yourself to convince yourself that you're okay. Just go home, let God deal with you in private. The next, in doing that, you're going to have to be honest so that he can help you. Okay, my pastor preached, he did a Bible study on Tuesday, and one of the things that he said was, or maybe it was Sunday, I was watching him. One of the things that he said was, you can't go to the doctor and say that your head hurt and it's really your knee. And that's an example I give my children, because you're gonna be diagnosed according to the issue that you say is wrong. So you might as well, hey Amelia, so you might as well go ahead and get to the root. Because nothing's going to happen for you in that area of your struggle. I ain't talking about the area you're succeeding in. The area of your issue. Nothing's going to happen until you pull up the root. Okay? So, and then ask God for a better understanding of who hurt you. They could have not even meant it. And I say that to say this. I had unresolved issues with my father. I was one of those girls that said, oh, these girls out here tricking and whoring around and blaming it on parental issues, lies, lies, lies. Let me tell you something. It's so real. I did not know that something as simple as my father having to come to just the front step, not inside the house, just the front step. I didn't know that that affected me. I didn't know that I needed understanding and clarity around that and why it was done that way. I didn't know that because I knew him all my life, we would watch movies, we would call ever so often and make a joke. But I didn't know that knowing him and having access to him all my life affected me, because I didn't really have a relationship that was cultivated. I didn't know that. I didn't know that until around 2013, when I really started to dig in and ask God, why am I like this? Why do I treat people the way that I do? That's when I realized, oh, I have daddy issues. So I recommend you pulling on God and asking him, where do you really hurt? Not where you think you hurt. Have him reveal to you where your issue really is. It's important. Because until I was able to acknowledge that, I was not able to allow God to heal me. And he can't move me towards my promise until he healed me. That was for me. And then we all think we masking issues that everybody else around us can see. Okay? Everybody can see that we are messed up, but us. I'm so sorry, but that's important. You think you're hiding how you feel and what really happened to you, and it's so obvious. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. So now let's talk about whose you are. We've talked about how we get to a point where we know who we are, but let's talk about whose we are, okay? If this is something that I say to all of my friends, if you say you are a believer and you claim Christianity, then you are a child of God. Period. Point blank. If that's the life you claim, and you claim kingdom life, then you need to also claim kingdom living. You can't have one without the other. So, as I said earlier, my mother used to I will save it. Thank you, Amelia. I learned my lesson with that. As I said, my mother used to check me all the time. And when I transitioned from one relationship to another, she straight up said to me, how you going to church all the time, how you say you trust God and you acting like this. Now this is from somebody who's not in church, who's not a part of a ministry, she straight checked me, and she does it often. I can look back now and say I appreciate it, because you need people who don't care about your feelings sometimes so that you can get to where God needs for you to be. Period. You're a child of God. You're a child of the Most High, and you serve a king, right? You say that God is the King of Kings, then what does that make you? If he's the King of Kings, what does that make you? Not no shade to anybody running around here calling themselves queens, princesses, any of that. But I do have an issue with all of us who claim that we are queens and kings and these things, but we don't behave that way. How are we a part of his kingdom and we're not behaving like a citizen? Okay, that goes back to knowing whose you are and who you are. Because when you don't know who you are, you won't behave like you're supposed to. Example, prior to me meeting my husband, I would get out this because I realized that I had gone through relationships so wrong that it started to tear down my self-esteem in so many areas. In the area of my family, in the area of my relationships, in the area of my gifts, my talents, my writing, my singing, like everything. It had got me so down to the point where I could not even sing a note out of my mouth, right? I had ended up writing a poem and posting it to Facebook, and my friends at the time, they was like, Kndyia, you okay? Because I was like, I can't even sing a note out of my mouth right now. I'm so down. I got to a point where I started to study who God said I was. He told me that I was a conqueror. He told me that I was holy. He told me that I was forgiven. All of these things. So I would get out the shower every day, and I would go and I would draw a crown on my mirror every single day. Because that is what I knew God wanted me to believe about myself. Understand? And when we are the people and persons that we're in relationship with are going to always be a reflection of us. Be it your husband, boyfriend, your family members, or even the friends that you keep around you. It's all a reflection of who you really are on the inside. And that became a problem for me because I realized that at one time I was super confident. At one time I was so outgoing. At one time I was so bright, so lively, so all of these things. And then I let the failures of a relationship strip it all away. It was a slow kill. So y'all have to be careful. Everybody can't have access to you. It was a slow kill. God, I'm so grateful that I'm through that point, but it was a slow kill. And if I can save somebody, or if God can use me and he saves someone through me to say, listen, cut everybody off. Take time with him and study who he say you are. Let him love on you. Let him hold you. Let him comfort you. All of these things that people say is not possible, God did that for me. Okay? So now how are you supposed to behave? Upon drawing that crown over the mirror of my bathroom mirror, I began to walk and talk a whole lot different. Didn't go around announcing it, but people started to come to me. Kndyia, I see that this is shifting in you. Kndyia, I see that this is changing in you. Kndyia, what are you doing in your private time? Because you're just not the same. I began to treat myself how God showed me I was supposed to be treating myself, not how God showed me I am supposed to be treated. So this is a difference. And people will tell you, oh, well, you know, go ahead and do things how you want people to treat you. Hey, Chantel, how you want people to treat you. But no, ma'am, treat you how God says you are supposed to treat you. Because if not, I'm no good to my husband. I'm no good to anybody who's interested in me. If I'm not satisfied with myself, if I couldn't take myself out, if I couldn't, half the time people thought I was there meeting somebody. You sure you gonna sit by? I'm by myself. And it's fine. And you have to get comfortable with that. And here's why. If you're not comfortable being by yourself right now, You're not comfortable going out by yourself. You ain't comfortable sitting at home chilling by yourself without having a breakdown. You ain't gonna be no good for marriage. Because what happens when you and your husband on different shifts? What happens when he out and he got a whole different business venture? What happens? What happens when I don't know. Like, for instance, I'm at home now. But what happens when things shift, or maybe something shifts in your relationship? Let's take it there. Let's say you and your husband, thank you so much, Chantel. Let's say you and your husband aren't on good terms. What's gonna happen if you're not comfortable with being by yourself? Are you gonna pick up the phone like you usually would do if you was in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, or if you were not healed yet? Would you go out in the middle of the night like you would have prior to, if you wasn't in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship? Or would you go and kick it with your friends and not tell people where you are? Like, all of these things play into your next role. And that's one thing nobody around me told me. That's something that I figured out along the way. After taking myself out, I said, you know what? It's going to make sense that I'm comfortable here. Because if I'm not comfortable here, how would I be comfortable there? Okay? So, you want to, just to recap, you want to know that you're a child of God. You want to know that you're a child of the Most High. You want to know that He is headship and king over your life. So then there are certain things that you must do. I will say this. Here and there, I will, just a little brief disclosure. Here and there, I will throw out scripture to y'all. But bottom line is, search and study for yourself. Partially because it helps you build relationship with your Father. But two, I don't know what God is telling you. Okay? All I know is He gave me 12 different topics in 2013 that I never knew what I was going to do with them. He brought it up in my spirit a few weeks ago, and then said, find that notebook where you wrote down those topics. This is what I want you to discuss now. But I don't know what your promise is. So I can't tell you exactly how to walk. I can give you the overview and give you what He gave me to give to you. But the instruction is this: whatever God tells you to do, you need to do it. Godspeed. If you're trying to get to your promise. So you're a child of God. You serve a king. So that makes you a child. That makes you a part of His kingdom. So find out what your behaviors are. I know this. It's not it's not having a whole bunch of male friends. Y'all can go ahead and tap out now. It ain't okay. It ain't having a whole bunch of female friends. I'm not talking about people that you know when you network with. But y'all don't when you get to your promise, let's say it's marriage, y'all don't have a whole lot of isolated friends. Everybody know everybody at this point, right? So just tread really, really light there. You want to make sure you clean up your house before inviting somebody in, basically. That's as simple as I can say it. Clean up your house before you invite somebody in. Otherwise, from my experience, you will have issues in your relationship. Okay? I'm taking all of my backdated experience and understanding where the error was, so that you don't bring those errors into your new thing. Okay? You're not putting your old wineskin in a new wineskin. However it go. Okay? Once somebody on here know that scripture by heart, and y'all can just go ahead and post it down at the bottom. Okay? Patrice, Kia, one of y'all. No, the baby is not crying. He has milk, his father, and his brother and sister. So yeah, recap. Learn the characteristics of your father. So those of you who are just now coming in, we're talking about who and whose you are. First thing, strip down, let God go ahead and just bear it all to Him, your truth. Okay. Second thing, know your role, basically. Understand that he is your father, so you have characteristics of him. What are his characteristics? What are you supposed to walk like, talk like, look like? Okay, because that matters. What are you supposed to walk like, talk like, look like? Okay. Sorry, y'all. Then your response. I didn't think I was gonna get to it. I'm almost done because I wanted to be done by 8. What is your responsibility? Patrice, go back and watch it. Okay. Last thing, what is your responsibility to your family? All right. At this point, I'm going to ask that after this video is over, go ahead and share it with someone you know may need to hear it. Okay. Walk like, talk like, and look like. Yes, Patrice. Last thing, your responsibility to your family. I was told that this part doesn't go with who and whose you are, but let me tell you why it does. Knowing what your responsibility is to your family goes with knowing who and whose you are because of this. My personal experience. I was in a 12 year relationship with my children's father, okay? On and off, back and forth, since high school, all right? One day, my daughter, Kaden, looked at me, this is like 2012-ish, looked up at me and said, "Mommy, I want to be just like you." I looked right back at her and said, "No, ma'am. Not right now." I literally looked at my daughter and said, "Let me make some changes first before you go wanting to pattern yourself after me." Okay? Then, as I began to let God strip me down and I began to bear out who I was and how I was and ask him, how did I get here? And ask him for understanding and all of these things. Okay? I will never forget sitting on my couch when I was living in First Ward. And I had to make a very tough decision to go ahead and cut my relationship completely off with their father. And this is what I said. This is what the Spirit said to me while I sat there on my couch. Loved them to death, right? This is what it said to me. Sitting on my couch, nobody in there but me and God. I asked myself this question, and I challenge you to ask yourself this question in whichever way you need to do it. But this is the question I posed to myself. If my daughter came into my house right now at the age of 18, 22, 25, 30, and told me that she was in a relationship with a guy, and that guy was treating her how I was being treated in my relationship, what would be my honest advice to her? Now, this was very tough because a lot of times we are not ready to be completely honest and upfront with ourselves, and that's why we continue cycles. But when you're tired of going in the same circle, changes will be made and you don't care who it affects. Okay? Because it's going to hurt you to do it. I asked myself that question. What would I tell Kaden if she came in here right now and said she was in a relationship like this? My honest, unfiltered response to my daughter was this: leave that nigga alone. Now. In that moment, if my daughter had came to me and said everything that she had dealt with over those years, that amount of time, there wouldn't have been a, "Oh, well, what did you say to get him like that? What did he do?" It would have been nothing. It would not be any of that. Okay? It wouldn't be any of it because she doesn't deserve love like that. Okay? Then I had to flip it. It was easy to respond like that. Oh, if a man was treating you like that, leave him. Let me tell you what hurt. When I had to flip it, because I have a son and a daughter, when I had to flip it and ask myself the same question, but say it from the standpoint of Kennedy, if Kennedy walked in and said that there was a woman treating him like I was treating their dad, leave her. Where she at? I was about ready to throw hands, and it was just a scenario. It was just a made-up scenario in my mind. But how many of us would not want our children to endure what we endure in relationships? That's the whole scope of healthy love and learning what it is. It's not okay. It wasn't okay for me to be done like that. Hey, Trisha, it wasn't okay for him to be done like that. So now I acknowledge it, Lord. What do I do about it? Make a change. And that change is not happening right here in this relationship. So what I'm going to have to do is, Kndyia, for you, I'm going to have to show you how to move forward and make these changes as you go before you get to your promise. Otherwise, you're going to forfeit your promise. I wasn't having it. Would you let your daughter go through what you're going through? Honestly. Would you let your son go through what you taking somebody else through? If the answer is no, it's time to make some changes. Period. That's why understanding what your role is and what your responsibility is. Hey, Alexis, what your responsibility is to your family is vital. Because I owe it to my children not to tell them what to do, but to show them what to do. It hurt me to my core to have to turn it down. However, I wanted to be able to show Caden how to walk away from a toxic relationship even when you care about somebody. I wanted to show Kennedy how to walk away from somebody when it's toxic for you. Because when they get of age, they won't have to figure it out. Well, I know I need to leave this situation, but I don't know how to leave. I don't know how to be okay without this person in my life. It's all right. I'll go ahead and be that person. I'll go ahead and I'll shoulder it so that I can show you what to do if you ever encounter this point. Does that make sense? So let God strip you down. Lay your burdens on him. Tell him exactly who you are. Those scary parts. Don't admit it to nobody. Admit it to him. Because even in my prior relationships, I had to admit some things that I did wrong so that God can cleanse and purge them out of me. Because it wasn't what I did, but it was something in me that if I kept it being a part of me, I would continue in the behavior. Let him strip it. And it goes for everything because you don't want to be in any promised land with old stuff on you. So be honest with yourself. Tell the ugly truth about yourself so that from that point on, you can look in the mirror and be proud of the person you're becoming. And you have there's no shame about who you were. And then people are going to do this. People start saying, oh, Kitty, you think you better. Oh, you act like you ain't never been through nothing. No, ma'am. No, sir. I know I've been through stuff. However, I know who I am and I know whose I am. And because I know that I've been redeemed. So therefore, I don't walk around like I ain't done nothing. I walk around like I'm forgiven because that's what he did for me. I don't have to live in what I did because I'm forgiven. And even after I realized that, I started to allow people to hold me hostage, even though I knew I was forgiven. No. Everybody or anybody that wants to hold you hostage to who you were after you done already committed yourself to Christ, after you done already told him your dirty truth, your ugly self, let them go. Let them go, period. Because those are people who want to pull you and extract you and distract you from your promise. I wasn't having it. I wasn't having it. Nobody was going to get the opportunity to pull me off my course this next time. So tell your ugly truth. Understand who you are. Okay? Learn God's characteristics. That's what I would encourage you to do over this next week. Pull on him and learn his characteristics. Pull on him and ask him to reveal that area of hurt that you have, that you are maybe unaware of, so he can expose it and get it out of you. And thirdly, think about the people who you value most, okay? Because your promise or you finishing your race affects them too. You not finishing your race affects them too, okay? Kaden and Kennedy still have questions today. Well, why not? Well, why can't? Listen, here's why. We weren't treating each other right. So God dealt with me and prepared me for someone else and prepared someone else for me, so that you can have an example of healthy love. Hey, Precious, you done missed most of it, so you're going to have to go back and watch it. So as I said, no, ask him to expose those things so you know it. Go ahead and reveal it. Cut everybody off who thinks that you're doing too much, that think it's not necessary for you to be going this far. Cut them all off. Because this is a season, if you are serious about executing what you say, that you are just going to have to walk that closely with God, and you're naturally some people are naturally going to fall off. I encourage you on tonight that if anybody missed it, go back and watch it. I am trying to keep it at a certain pace. That's why I said I wasn't going to make it to that last piece, but I just wanted to get it all in there. I will be going live pretty much every either Thursday or Friday at 7:30. If I change the date, I will announce it. But I encourage you that whatever promise God showed you, the key is listen and execute it. Same thing, those of us who have children. Same thing we tell our children. How many times do I have to tell you? How many times are you going to bump your head? God looking at us the same way. How many times is he going to have to tell you, nope, not that kind of man. Nope, don't talk to that chick. How many times is he going to have to redirect you and redirect you and redirect you before you get to your promise? It's simple as that. I love y'all. I hope somebody was encouraged. It's my prayer that everybody watching, those who see it tomorrow, next week, next year, that you become exactly who God has designed and destined for you to be, so that when you get where you're supposed to be, you have no issues. You have just the issues that are supposed to come with that, not those predetermined issues and some old ones, okay? I definitely encourage everybody to send me feedback on this video, either in the comment section. If you have my number, text me. If you feel comfortable messaging me on Facebook, I would definitely appreciate that. Just so I have my 12 topics, but if there's anything that you are interested in hearing, I want to speak on that. I definitely encourage you to just get one person that you can communicate with, not someone that you talk to through your whole process, but someone that when you really need someone on earth to check you, you know that person is not going to hold back and hesitate to tell you, hold up now, you said, because I did have a person like that. Shout out Megan, shout out Brandy. I did have people in my corner that when I knew I was getting ready to try to stray, they was like, now hold up now, Kndyia. I know I ain't doing it, or I know this person ain't doing it, but I need for you to go ahead and do it. Love y'all. Have a great night. Share, and give me feedback.